If you have ever watched pro gameplay and wondered how they defend so aggressively without getting punished, then you are in the right place. Today we are breaking down Ender's VERGANG defending style in FC25 and how you can use some of his techniques in your own gameplay. But here is the thing, most players either defend too passively or dive in too much. But VERGANG? He finds the perfect balance between aggression and control, making him the best right stick switching defender in the world. Stick around because by the end of this video, you will know how he defends. VERGANG's defending is different from most pros. He doesn't just hold his shape and wait. He actively pressures the opponent using the right stick switching to constantly control the best player for every situation. But that doesn't mean that Ender's VERGANG doesn't pay the price for such a style of defending. He also makes mistakes, which we will cover later on. However, these are the key principles that you need to follow if you want to be an aggressive defender like him. Right stick switching mastery. He always switches to the most effective player, cutting off angles before the opponent can react. He is playing 70 depth, high defensive line. He doesn't sit back, he presses high, forcing mistakes early. And he also knows when to jockey and when to tackle. He engages at the right time, making tackles before attackers can settle. Now, this kind of suffocating pressure is called sustained pressure, right? He applies sustained pressure, doesn't care who he's playing against. If he is playing against a rank 5 player in Weekend League, he's going to defend like this. If he is playing against a pro like Oberon, he is going to defend like this. However, you can see in this example that Oberon does punish him when he is being too aggressive, but that doesn't force him to change his defending style because that is what he is more comfortable with naturally. So here you need to understand, are you more of a passive defender or an aggressive defender, right? You can be more of a passive defender like Oberon is, but if you look at Oberon, he is more of a methodical defender. He waits, he cuts off the passing lanes, holds his shape very tightly, and he is an old school defender. But we have seen in FC games that the defender who is most aggressive, like MS Tasari in his prime, Tex in his prime, VERGANG in his current prime, these kind of players are always more rewarded by the game as opposed to players who tend to sit back. But before you get too excited, listen to me. There is no right or wrong answer. You have to be aggressive, you have to be passive. And if you are wondering how to do that, keep watching the video. Aggression isn't always the answer. Even VERGANG knows when to hold his line. If you are pressing at the wrong time, you are just gifting space to your opponent. Look at this chance, right? He overcommits Storm and Oberon sees that. Now, Oberon has numbers in attack. Because he plays it so well, he gets unlucky that the ball doesn't go in the back of the net. Even if you look at this example where Henry speed boosts past VERGANG, see what happens. He was able to beat his press and predict it. But still, VERGANG doesn't change his defensive style. It rewards him with attacking opportunities. But talking about passive and aggressive defending, this is when you should be aggressive. When the opponent faces back to his goal, when he is in tight spaces or he is taking back touches. Now, when you are actively pressing, you don't want to think about the ball. If we look at VERGANG, he isn't attacking the ball carrier. He is focusing on players who are off the ball. See how many switches he makes. He makes these perfect switches, keeps applying sustained pressure. He isn't afraid to pull his players out of position. Why is that? Because he knows what he is doing with his defenders. If you try to do it like a headless chicken, you will be punished because opponents can see which player you are controlling. And if you just take your center back, move him out of position, you will be punished. The ball. Now, Oberon, he is a methodical player, likes to have a slower build-up. And he is trying to force him into rushed passes. If you can force your opponent into rushed passes by showing him that, okay, here is the space, take it. When they try to take the space, they tend to rush. And when they rush, that is when they end up giving you the ball. But you have to evaluate your own skill level. If you're not very strong with the right stick switching, the first thing you need to do is go into the practice drills, skill games, and improve your right stick switching. Don't try to just right stick switch like a pro because that is not where you stand. You stand at a basic level. You need to improve your right stick switching. Or you could just be a good right stick switching player and you just don't know when to switch. Or maybe you are just a good mechanical player but you don't know when to right stick switch. That is when you take these cues, like I said, when the opponent is under pressure, when you have cover, and when you are actually playing against players who like to build up slowly. Now, when should you be passive? Guys, like I've mentioned before, Anders also gets punished because whenever you overcommit, there is a price you have to pay. You can get punished, right? If the opponent has space to exploit, you should tend to be more passive as it is better to be passive than aggressive when the opponent is attacking in numbers, as you don't have the advantage of numbers in defense, right? So it is better to be passive, hold your line, cut passing lanes, and be reactive rather than being proactive. When you are defending a fast player 1v1 like Thierry Henry R9, one bad step lets them get past you, especially in the speed boost meta. So you want to take a couple of steps back and actually hold your ground. A failed aggressive challenge can always lead to a counter attack for the opponent. Most casual players rely too much on L1 LB switching, which is slower and less precise. You have to go into squad battles and manually track runs using right stick switching, okay? Secondly, you have to use very high depth like aggressive. It will force you to switch quickly. You will concede goals, but it is fine. You are practicing. It is called targeted practice, okay? And delay and trap. Hold your midfield line, don't dive in immediately. You press when the opponent hesitates on the ball and he doesn't know where to go. Now, this is a practice plan that you should follow if you want to defend like VERGANG. Do not overcommit with the center backs. Always switch to midfielders first and then defend with the center backs if necessary. Don't hold a lot of sprint while defending. Hold L2 plus R2. This makes jockeying more effective as opposed to just sprinting around when cutting passing lanes. And do not switch too late. Right stick switching should be instant, not reactive. Instead, master manual jockeying. Don't rely on AI defending. Control your own players. Read the opponent's next move. Don't just chase the ball. Predict their options. Anticipation is what will improve your aggressive defensive playstyle. Balance aggression and patience. Defend smart, not reckless. Aggressive defending doesn't mean running at the opponent like a headless chicken. Look at Oberon. He is slow. He is methodical, right? He is being passive. Whereas Anders, he's throwing bodies at him. He is switching to Douglas Luiz. He's switching to Gravenberg. He's switching to Stam. But because he overcommits, what happens? He gives Oberon easy space. He almost conceded from it. But that is his defending style. He won't change. And Oberon is a methodical defender. Just look at how he is going to defend. He runs in the passing lanes, but at the same time, he doesn't overcommit so much as Anders does. That means he still has cover at the back if it gets to that. Look at his defensive line. It's very straight. It's very perfect. He is not overcommitting his defenders. He's marking passing lanes, tracking runs, but he is at the same time giving too much time on the ball to someone like Anders, which can be dangerous. This is the reason I said that players who defend aggressively in this game will always be rewarded as opposed to a player who is more of a passive defender. But that doesn't mean passive defending doesn't lead to greatness. Nicholas 99 FC qualified for 8 out of 8 World Cups, the only player in the world to do so. He's more of an passive defender, right? Have a look at this defensive scenario from Anders VERGANG. Overcommits with Stam, but he is confident. He sees Henry is isolated, tries to win the ball back, pulls him out of position, tries to recover. But what did he do? He ended up giving space to Oberon. There is always a price to pay, and good players will punish you if you make a bad step. So if Anders can make a misstep in his press, what makes you think that you won't do it? It will always come with a cost. You have to be willing to pay that price, especially when you're learning how to defend aggressively.